There being only one universe to be explained, nobody could repeat the act of Newton, the luckiest of mortals.
The Interplanetary Podcast. The exploration of space for the benefit of all mankind. Your hosts here in London, Matthew Russell and Jamie Franklin.
Oh yeah, baby, Lagrange.
It is one of your favourite words, if not your favourite word.
Giuseppe Ludovico Lagrange
25th of January, 1736.
was his birth in Turin, but he died today, on this very day, 10th of April, 1813, at the age of 77 in Paris.
Rest in peace, you legend.
So what do you think of that quote?
Look, it was good at the time.
Yeah.
But now, Matt, I mean, Einstein has sort of put two fingers up to that, hasn't he?
A little bit. And near the end of the show, maybe someone else has stuck a couple of fingers up it as well.
So, we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be quite interesting. This week is Space News Week, Jamie. There are no interviews. I've got loads lined up. So it's going to be a bit of an interview fest from now on. But what I will do, I've got quite a bit of online content.
Oh.
I've got some interviews from Darmstadt from ESOC.
Oh, sweet.
That I've never used because they're not quite the right format for the show, but I'm going to stick them on our Patreon page, free for everyone to go and listen to, including the patrons. But yes, if you go over to our Patreon page, you can listen to various different audio files from the various people that work at Darmstadt. They're very, very interesting.
Well, that's a beautiful
so I'm
thing.
going to put them up over the week, Jamie.
Matt, if there are any new listeners, I mean, we normally do this at the end of the show, but why not do it now, just in case they get bored and drop out halfway through? How do you become a patron?
You go to www.interplanetary.org.uk and follow the links, or you could just go straight to patreon.com/interplanetary and join there. Currently, Jamie, I've slightly reworded our pledge last week.
I was going to say.
What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think about this? Jamie and I between us, are going to match our Patreon fund and donate that to the various COVID-19 charities.
Now we're talking.
Because we know that, of course, you donated that money in good faith to go towards the podcast. Of course, that money will still go towards the podcast and making it better. So that money is safe and going into the podcast. And Jamie and I will make sure that we match that Patreon fund with our money
it's best
going out.
Best of both worlds.
My first week is going over to Dragon Aerospace, Jamie, just so you know, to help them build face masks for the NHS.
That is a wonderful thing. And for the second week, I would like it to go to a charity very close to my heart. I'm actually a trustee, and it's Smart. They're called Smart. They are a London-based mental health charity, and they're doing excellent work getting people through this tough time when they can't get out. So round of applause to all of our patrons and for anyone who's supporting us at this time.
Awesome. Jamie, do you know it's exactly a year ago since the image of a black hole in the M87 galaxy?
You serious?
That's a year ago.
That's insane. That's gone so quick.
That is amazing, isn't it? Of course, this week is going to be Apollo 13 50th anniversary week.
Yeah.
There's some brilliant stuff over on the NASA website. Lots of redone footage, so it's lots to enjoy there.
So what's happened this week, Matt?
Well, we talked about all the Earth's largest telescopes last week.
Oh, big do I?
Well, I was reading in an article by Eric Betts in Astronomy magazine that pretty much all of them have shut down because of COVID-19. So that, and I was thinking, what on earth is the repercussions of that? Are we going to lose like really important data? Now, there's a couple that I believe have stayed open, the ones that are kind of looking out for asteroids and things like that might destroy the planet. But I thought that this quote by John Mulcahy of the Carnegie Observatories, he says, "If we have our first bright supernova in 100 years, that will be terrible." I mean, how annoying will it be if Betelgeuse goes up and we miss it because all the telescopes are down.
Imagine that. Like,
oh my God, it'd be so annoying. It says, but except for really rare events like that, most of the science will be done next year. The universe is 30.7 billion years old. We can wait a few months.
That's the attitude. So, Matt, this is a stupid question, but there's some... I assume that they're all shut down because it takes people to obviously man the observatories, but are there people who can... Are there big telescopes that can just be left to their own devices and just be done remotely?
There are some robotic telescopes, yes, but presumably they still need some mechanical oversight. These are huge mechanical things. So someone, and I can't see that being a problem, that someone that obviously lives locally, who's a technician, can go and repair it.
What's your favourite observatory you've been to, Matt?
The favourite observatory I've been to is the Royal Greenwich Observatory, only because of its unbelievable historical context and the fact that Harrison's clocks are there, which is just mind-blowing.
Insane.
So,
yeah, that's pretty good. I'm a big fan of Hurst Monceau. Have you ever been there?
No.
Very cool. I'll take you there when this is all over.
Oh, nice. I also really liked one I went to in Prague.
I've been to that one. You told me about that one, and I walked up the hill, didn't I?
Nice.
Yeah, you were tracking my progress.
On a pretty terrifying note, Tony Beasley, the director of National Radio Astronomy, this is what he said: "It's going to be hard to build new telescopes as millions of people are out of work. I suspect the largest impact will be the financial nuclear winter that we're about to live through."
Yes. Nuclear winter. That's a line that will go in the film.
Yeah. So talking of nuclear and nuclear winters, Jamie, this is a little news story I spotted on Twitter that kind of made me. We'll get on to happier stories after this one, I promise.
Please.
But this one made me sit up and pay attention. So this week, Christopher Ford, who is the U.S. Assistant Secretary at the State Department's Bureau of International Security and Non-Proliferation, you know him well, he explicitly laid out that if anyone attacked any of the US's space-based assets that were part of its strategic nuclear command, even though that would be a conventional attack, it would be considered so serious that the US may respond with nuclear retaliation.
Oh, there we go.
Which is basically saying to the Chinese, and I guess to the Russians as well, if you knock out one of our satellites because you think it's an annoying spy satellite, and it turns out that it's part of our, nuclear systems, then the world is basically over, which is a comforting thought.
It is, isn't it? Oh, God, Matt, I tell you what, you're going to have to give us some good news, please.
All right, okay. I will give you some good news. I have just finished watching the launch of MS-16 on schedule up to the International Space Station. So that's Anatoly Ivanishin, Ivan Wagner, and Christopher Cassidy.
Oh, what a trio.
They have all been in very strict quarantine for a month. So it's been one of the oddest launches ever because there's been no family or anything to see them off. But weirdly, the two Russians don't have any clothes because they were swapped out. Like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, they were swapped out because one of the original members, one of them had hurt his eye during training. So they were swapped out at the last minute. And there's no clothes. So they're taking some of them with them, and they'll have to wait for a resupply ship to deliver the rest of their clothes later on.
Well, they might see a full moon quicker than they thought.
The Interplanetary podcast, putting the ace back into space.
Oh, that's good, Jamie. That is good.
Thanks.
It's the first launch, of course, for quite some time. We haven't had anything since Atlas V that did that first ever Space Force launch on the 26th of March.
26th of March, yeah.
There was another Chinese launch today, and I believe by looking at Twitter that may have gone wrong.
Ooh.
But it's too early to say.
It is. Let's be positive until we know.
Here is a good piece of news. So Rocketlab have been sharing the video of a really successful test that they did earlier on in the year, but I'm not quite sure why we're only hearing about it now, but this is pretty impressive. So they have managed to do a mid-air recovery of one of their rocket boosters.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't an actual one that had gone up, but it was one that they flew a helicopter very, very high up and then dropped one of these boosters from it on a parachute. It then was caught by a second helicopter that was able to capture it mid-air at 5,000 feet with a grappling hook and carry it to safety and back to land and gently plop it down on the grass.
God damn. That is impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, that is very impressive. So it's the third of these kind of tests to get Electron to be reusable. So in December and January, they had guided re-entries. And I think the second one managed to actually sort of land softly in the sea, or at least controlled landing in the sea. I think it was still going about 900 kilometers an hour.
Right, yeah, it's pretty quick.
But it was maintaining the correct angle of attack. And the reason why it was still going so fast is because it didn't have parachutes. So the next test later on in the year will be with parachutes, but it will still hit the ocean. And then after that, I think they'll probably start trying to capture these things. Well, yeah, this is what Peter Beck said. Go.
Congratulations, to the recovery team here at Rocketlab on the flawless mid-air recovery test. Electron has already knocked access to space for small satellites, but every step closer to reusability is a step closer to even more frequent launch opportunities for our customers,
It's very hard not to slip into South Africa.
That's what I just did, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, and you were a bit Australian as well.
Well,
it's softer, isn't it? It's more.
Yeah, but that's why I had to put. If I put in A after some stuff, then it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed you were doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's actually not about with Rocketlab. It's not really about the cost of building these things.
Yeah.
The reusability. It's more about the ability to double your production output so that they can get a better launch cadence or more frequent launches. Apparently, they're building a rocket every 20 days, which means they must have a pretty large manifest of launches. Here's a very good news story for a very small company, Jamie. There's a company that last year only had 15 employees, and that is Masten Space Systems. And they have just been given one of these brilliant awards by NASA for the CLPS initiative, the Commercial Lunar Payload Services, which are part of the Artemis program. $75.9 million goes to Masten Space Systems, and that means that they will deliver and operate a lander to the moon's south pole in 2022.
Oh, yes.
I don't know what kind of bet you want to put on 2022. I would have thought that that's going to slip. It's supposed to be laying the foundations for the Artemis human landings of 2024. Which, if that happens now, I really will be totally... I mean, I've been amazed before COVID-19, but I'll be super amazed now.
I'm going 24, 26.
What for? 24 for Masten, 26 for humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad call. That's not a bad call.
It's where the smart money's at.
Yeah, I'll go along with that bet, Jamie. I think you'd still get pretty good odds for it. This is what Jim Bride of Frankenstein said. He said, under our Artemis program, we are going to the moon with all of America. These CLPS deliveries are on the cutting edge of our work to do great science and support human exploration up the moon.
I think they should get you to do all their press announcements.
And Jim Bridenstine just sort of mimes it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this is end-to-end services for the delivery of these scientific payloads. So payload integration, launch from Earth, landing on the moon's surface, operating for 12 days. And yeah, that's so Masten Space Systems need to land these payloads on the moon with its XL-1 lander. So that's super exciting.
That is exciting. Something to look forward to at last.
Do you want to know what these science payloads will be for Masten to deliver?
Go on.
Just do a couple of them. There's the Lunar Compact Infrared Imaging System, which basically will map the moon's surface composition, its surface temperature, and will also look at using that type of instrument for future lunar resource utilization activities. So pretty important.
And a couple more acronyms for us.
LSIRIS. And then there's the LETS, the Linear Energy Transfer Spectrometer.
Boom.
Which measures radiation on the moon's surface. There's already one of those going in 2021. There's a little small robotic rover, the Moon Ranger, a 30-pound little rover that's going to go round. There's M-SOLO, the mass spectrometer observing lunar operations.
Yeah.
What that does, it looks at the gases coming off the lander so that it can kind of take them out of the of other observations, so that it's not, you're not saying, oh my god, there's loads of burnt hydrazine on the moon, and it turns out that, oh no, it was just off the rocket fuel. So yeah,
easy mistake to make.
Yeah, so that should be really, really exciting, I think, that Masten, very tiny little company, are going to the moon with a whole bunch of science experiments.
Live long and prosper, Masten.
It's all
Love it.
kicking off. Here comes the big ticket, the SpaceX news, Jamie.
Oh, finally. Drink.
Yes, this week saw the splashdown of the very last Dragon 1 spacecraft. Flew its final mission, the capsule number C122.3.
R.I.P.
Which flew on, SPX CRS-20, which is the 20th resupply of the ISS for NASA.
Yeah.
And you know what spacecraft will supersede the Dragon 1 spacecraft?
Let me take a wild guess. I'm going to go with Dragon 2.
Oh, good guess. Exactly. You're bang on, Jamie. Yes.
Dragon 2, the remake.
Do you know what two main varieties that comes in?
Oh, Matt, would it be Crew Dragons and Cargo Dragons?
It will be crew and cargo variants. But I think, because obviously it's reusable, and the big advantage of Dragon 2 is that it can dock to the space station without any help, so it's completely autonomous. It doesn't need someone like Tim Peake operating Canadarm to drag it in. So yes, that, which is impressive. But once it's been used as a crew dragon to carry astronauts up to the space station, when it's reused again, I believe it becomes a cargo dragon. Do you know only one of the Dragon 1 spacecraft was lost, and that was on the 7th mission, SPX-7.
That's not bad going.
And that was lost, and that lost the international docking adapter, or one of them. But what I didn't realise is when the Falcon 9 blew up because of a dodgy strut, that capsule could have saved itself by deploying its parachutes, because it was not actually destroyed. But the software, it just didn't have a kind of, if the rocket blows up, then deploy parachutes line of code in there. So it just never happened. So everything was lost. But it actually needn't to have been. It could have parachuted down and then been recovered.
That is nuts.
To be fair, I think Dragon 1 has to go down as one of the most important spacecraft of the last decade, because it's essentially... It is a big deal because it was part of NASA's Commercial Resupply Service Program, or CRS, which essentially gave Musk the money to be able to develop Falcon 9 and Dragon and everything else that he's really done. I mean, it's lots and lots of money from the American taxpayer, but it's already paid for itself because Elon Musk has been so much cheaper than the competitors. So it's definitely a win-win-win all round. It's one of those really good success stories where in every way it all worked out for everyone.
It's a triple win.
It is a triple win. So it became the first ever commercially built spacecraft to be recovered after an orbit. And it's the first commercial spacecraft to rendezvous with the ISS. I mean, both of those are incredible, considering it took a lot of, say, ESA's resources to do the same thing. ESA, that's a massive undertaking for ESA, and ESA don't have that capability anymore. So it's you realise that a little private company with a fairly rogue CEO have achieved a lot. Yes, and of course we've got the Dragon XL that was announced on March the 27th, part of the Gateway Logistics Services. So again, it carries on that tradition of Elon Musk, basically hopefully carrying on this win-win-win solutions for NASA and for space travel.
Well, fingers crossed. Don't stop now.
Don't stop Musk now if we want to have a good space race.
I love that. I'd dance to that at the end of the wedding.
I think I might have gone mad during, what's it called? Lockdown.
Matt, you're going to have to edit the word might out of that sentence.
Okay. I'll edit. I'm going to call it Lockdown Madness.
Lockdown Madness. It's the EP.
During my Lockdown Madness, however, I did watch the footage of Starship number 3, SN3, being destroyed. So from what I could see there, spacecraft are only just about strong enough to hold their own weight. And if you pump them full of fuel, they would just collapse. Unless they've got the pressure of the fuel actually pushing out and holding the whole thing rigid. A bit exactly like a bouncy castle. You can get on the bouncy castle as long as it's pressurized, but the moment you take the pressure out, the whole thing collapses.
Right.
And it looks like there was 2 tanks being filled with cryogenic nitrogen, and the bottom one doesn't look as though it either lost pressure or wasn't filled correctly, and so the top half of the of Starship got too heavy and just it all crumpled and fell on the floor.
Would you like Elon Musk quote, Matt, about this?
Oh, yeah, especially if it's in a South African accent.
Every day, in every way, Scrooge is getting worse. Oh, sorry, that's Muppets Christmas Carol. Where's the quote? There we go. We will see what data review says in the morning, Brie. But this may have been a test configuration mistake.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because if someone made a mistake, that sounds like it's a bad thing, but it might be a good thing because they might just say, oh, do you know what? Actually, nothing was really that wrong with the spacecraft. But this is the thing that everyone's been really excited about this week.
I know what you're going to say, because I was one of those people.
Is the NASA worm logo being painted on the side of the Crew Dragon Falcon 9 booster?
Yeah.
That's what everyone got really excited about. But there were some people who sort of pointed out that the worm logo represents a period of time in NASA's history, i.e. 1976 to 1992, where a large part of that history was pretty rancid and associated with not a lot of flying, severely under budget, everything else. So, yeah, the worm logo, I love it. But I must admit, I did think like the excitement around it was a little bit over the top. But yes, that looks like the Crew Dragon test, Jamie, will be delayed until June.
Standard.
Because of some,
it's just the norm now.
Stupid virus, yeah.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking
about. But rival Boeing, I mean, really, this is a stinker. They were supposed to have been sending astronauts up as well to the International Space Station in the Starliner. However, they really did have an absolute catastrophe with their test in December that ended up being worse than everyone thought it was, because there was like several software glitches that could have been disastrous. So they've stuck over $400 million out of their own pockets to refly Starliner. And they haven't even waited for NASA's decision on that. They've just gone, right, no, we really need to fly again. So we're doing it. So I really doubt we'll see a Starliner carrying humans in 2020. And considering we've been talking about this since 2017, at least, and really it should have been something like 2016 that this was all happening. That's pretty catastrophe, I would say.
It's not great. So ESA, what's happening?
Oh, so if you happen to download this podcast first thing in the morning, which I doubt. So you've probably all missed it now. But yes, Bepi Colombo will be buzzing the Earth on its flyby.
Oh.
So it's doing a nice gravity assist maneuver, the first of 9, in fact, as it whizzes past Earth to get enough speed or velocity or change of velocity, enough delta V to get into the innermost part of the solar system where it can observe Mercury.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Annoyingly, though, it really you either have to be very, very southern in the northern hemisphere or living in the southern hemisphere to be able to see it properly. You might be able to see it, and you can only really see it if you've got some good binoculars or a good old telescope.
I'm southern, Matt. I'm southern in the northern hemisphere, aren't I?
You might be able to see it. You might be able to see it if you really, really, really try. But
okay,
good. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tricky one. But yeah, so that's first of 9 gravity assists. The next 2 will be using the slightly closer Venus, and that's not going to happen until October, and then again in August 2021. And then it has 6 flybys of Mercury to get it into the right orbit.
Glory.
And by the time it's done all that, then the 2 parts of it, which is the Mercury Magnetospheric Orbiter, or the MMO, that belongs to JAXA, and the Mercury Planetary Orbiter, which are the ESA parts, will separate from one another, and they will start their scientific operations in 2026.
2026, okay.
About the time we might be going to the moon.
Don't excite me.
This week was the 10th birthday of Europe's mighty Cryosat.
Glory.
And that, I tell you what, that launched on a really bizarre rocket, the Dnieper rocket that comes from an underground silo.
Weird.
Like a proper, intercontinental ballistic missile. So yes, that came from Kazakhstan, blasting up 10 years ago. And yes, Cryosat's been very, very important when it comes to measuring the change of ice. Okay. And it's brought us really good news stories like how Greenland and Antarctica are losing ice 6 times faster than we expected.
Oh, it's a sad bit of news.
So yes, I lied when I said it's good news from now on in. But Cryosat is still working. And
well, Matt, maybe the ice is stopping, melting as fast because of the virus. Is that a thing yet?
No, I don't think so, Jamie. I think
the damage is done.
I think the damage is done, and it won't make much difference. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Economic slowdowns. It's not. I don't know, Jamie. It's complicated, isn't it? The old world and
Matt,
the economy.
You mentioned the Cryosat.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like?
It looks like it's got a pair of breasts.
Oh.
I seem to remember we took a very hilarious photo of me underneath a scale model of it when we visited ESTEC.
Oh, thank you for the memories.
The Interplanetary podcast, putting the ace back into space.
It is quite funny.
There we go.
It is quite cartoon-esque.
It is a little bit.
There was actually the very first European external commercial facility on the International Space Station arrived earlier this week, and it's been attached to the Columbus laboratory module, and it's called Bartolomeo, who is the younger brother of Christopher Columbus.
Is he like the Italian Bartholomew? I
guess so.
I like it. I'm into it.
Bartolomeo. That was installed, of course, by the robotic arm, the Canadarm, and Dexter as well. I love Dexter. Have you ever seen Dexter in action?
I think I have.
It's like a sort of little robot that fits on the end of the Canadarm and does all the intricate stuff. It's quite funny. It is an amazing piece of equipment. And yes, that took Bartolomeo out of the Dragon cargo trunk. And moved it on to Columbus, where it's going to start doing sciencey stuff.
Oh, that is beautiful.
I do like Dexter.
Well, I'm going to Google it after the show.
Jamie, I couldn't go without doing a little bit of space science that came in. NASA ran with this story, ESA ran with this story as well. So obviously they think it's quite important, and it involves NASA and ESA, the great telescopes, as we shall see. So yes, a paper came out it was published this month in Astronomy and Astrophysics by K. Migcath et al., probing cosmic isotropy with a new X-ray galaxy cluster sample through the LXT scaling relation.
And if you haven't read this, I mean, where have you been?
Now, don't get too worried, because it's actually quite easy to follow if it's broken down, I find. I did actually read the abstract and felt like I understood it.
Matt, do me a favour. Break it down for me.
Here we go. So isotropy, or isotropy, or isotropy.
You mean uniformity in all orientations?
That's right, Jamie. Yeah. So if you are very, very good at kneading dough, you should be aiming for a bit of isotropy or isotropy. It's amazing. There's lots of different ways of saying that word. Isotropy.
Matt, talking of dough, did you hear about the baker who had brown hands?
He needed a poo.
Good. Little April joke for you.
So astronomers, they've assumed that the universe is expanding at the same rate in all directions. You must have heard this.
Correct.
Dark energy is forcing the universe apart. But this study uses data from XMM Newton, ESA's great X-ray observatory, NASA's great X-ray observatory, the Chandra Space Telescope, and a couple of others, the Rossat X-ray Observatory that is from Germany, DLR, and they suggest that this might be wrong. So the isotropy hypothesis goes like this, that the universe has, despite some local differences where the galaxies are pulling themselves together, you can observe the same properties in each direction on the largest scale. So everything looks the same on the largest scale, that the universe is basically smooth and has this isotropy. And the cosmic microwave background backs this up. It looks like there was a uniform distribution in the sky in the early days of the universe, and that expanded rapidly at the same rate in all directions. The CMB kind of backs that up. But what these guys have done, and here's the lead author, Konstantinos Migkas. We looked at the behavior of over 800 galaxy clusters in the present universe. If the isotropy hypothesis was correct, the properties of the clusters would be uniform across the sky. But we actually saw significant differences.
Wow.
And when they say significant, they mean out by 30%.
That's big.
They used a sample of 313 galaxy clusters, 237 clusters from Chandra, 76 from XMM Newton, and then they used other clusters from Japan and Germany and lots of other different X-ray telescopes. So 842 different galaxy clusters in total in the end. So what they've used is this X-ray temperature measurement, right? So an X-ray temperature measurement is the hot gas that's in between all these clusters, and they're measuring the temperature of that gas using X-ray information. Now, that was then compared with how bright the cluster appears in the sky. So hopefully what would happen is clusters of the same temperature and located at a similar distance should appear with a similar brightness. But it turns out they don't. And that is a big deal. And it apparently is.
Are you telling me that all my study thus far has been wrong?
Well, potentially, yes. So the difference is 30%. And not only are the differences 30%, they're not random. So it depends on the direction in which you're observing the sky that you have this discrepancy. So which really does point out that there's something going on, that the universe is expanding at different rates in different directions. So here's the things that they had to rule out. They had to rule out that there wasn't undetected gas or dust clouds obscuring the view, because obviously that would dim the clusters. But they think they've ruled that out. Now, the one thing they haven't ruled out are these things called bulk flows, which are large-scale motions of these galaxies that are being pulled by extremely massive structures, such as even larger cluster groups. And so they haven't fully ruled out bulk flows.
Okay.
They've looked at lots of other different effects like X-ray absorption treatment, the effect of galaxy groups and low redshift clusters, core metallicities. And yes, none of those are able to explain the results. So the project scientist at ESA who looks after XMM Newton said, "This is a hugely fascinating result. Previous studies have suggested that the present universe might not be expanding evenly in all directions, but this result, the first time such a test has been performed with galaxy clusters in X-rays, has a much greater significance and also reveals a great potential for future investigations."
That was Norbert Schartel, probably my favourite new name of the podcast.
Norbert Schartel. Is this the work of dark energy, Jamie?
Probably. Bloody dark energy.
Blooming dark energy. So dark energy may have just become extremely more mysterious than before, which is a bit embarrassing considering it makes up more than half of the energy in the universe.
That's a lot.
I mean, so lots of results would need revisiting if the major assumption of isotropy is overthrown.
Gotcha. Yeah.
X-ray studies have always assumed perfect isotropy, but it shows that there probably isn't this that needs to be readdressed because there might be weird expansion rates all over the place, but these bulk flows might also be twisting the data. So there's a whole bunch of results that would have to go back over and say, do you know what? We can't really rely on these results anymore because we've assumed something that just isn't true. Whether it's the expansion or the way that we treat X-rays, something's wrong, basically.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out what it is.
Well, hopefully, ESA are about to launch Euclid, which is going to be a new telescope. And that is going to image billions of galaxies and really scrutinize this expansion of the cosmos. So it may be able to solve the mystery. But there's more data coming from eRosita, which is another instrument that was built by the Germans.
Max Planck.
Yeah, by the Max Planck Institute. And that was on board a German-Russian satellite called the Spectre RG, and that's about to start collecting lots and lots of data. So that should be really interesting. So a lot of work may soon be overthrown by this new piece of information. So that's actually very, very exciting.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, so the universe might not just only be expanding, but expanding in not an even way, which will just make dark energy so much more complicated to unravel.
Well, thank God, because it's just too easy to understand at the moment for me.
Oh, Jamie. Jamie, shall we let the Spodcats enjoy their weekend?
I think we should. It's too nice.
Yeah,
it's too nice. But remember, get out for an hour to exercise, but stay away from each other and stay home. Protect the NHS. Clap on a Thursday, 8 p.m. If you'd like to donate to Patreon, then we will match it to these wonderful people on the front line.
Front line doing stuff.
Now, Matt, I'm off to eat some more COVID snacks and rapidly expand my stomach in the same rate in all directions. What about you?
Yeah, I'm definitely having isotropic expansion. Actually, it's not.
Cream.
I have very anisotropic expansion. It seems to expand around my neck before, I get a double chin before I get a belly. What the heck's that about?
Yeah, it's weird. Anyone's got any idea how Matt can lose his double chin, please let us know. www.interplanetary.org.uk.
Oh, that's really... Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for that. Yeah. No, so yes, just look out for those little extras that I'll be I'll be posting every now and then on the Patreon page. I'll obviously tweet and Instagram about it as we go. But I thought I want to get them out there. There's some great interviews coming up. I've got one with Kelvin who's going to be talking to me about interstellar spacecraft, amongst lots of other exciting
Kelvin.
things. I've got a couple with people who've been making films. I've got a special in a couple of weeks with Alicia about isolation and Mars missions.
Yes.
So we'll just be at our wits' end.
We're going to be rocking with the interviews. Watch this space.
And yes, let's quarantine madness and lockdown madness hasn't set in too much.
No, just look after yourself.
Look after yourselves.
Look up.
Because there's so much going on, and hope that Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse doesn't explode while all our big observatories are shut down, because that really will be the biggest missed opportunity of all time.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Right.
Okay. Take care.
Cheerio. Bye-bye, Spotcats.
Goodbye.